Hello, Alex here, and I just wanted to have a first go at trying to set out a position on AI. It's obviously very much in photographers' minds at the moment, and we can see the encroachment of AI into every aspect of image making. I mean, photography is indefinable because it has so many applications, and that's one of its problems. But one of the things we can say about AI is that it affects every aspect of photography. Um, and in fact, maybe a definition of photography could be a medium that gives lifelike representation, which is always susceptible to artificial manipulation. And it's that big a shift in our understanding of what is a photograph. But my position, and this is the first part of this, and I'm, I want to sort of come back to this because I want to sort of talk about Fred Richen's book, The Synthetic Eye, but I'll do that in a later post. It's a book I was recommended by a good friend Giles Price, and it's a text which really sets the groundwork uh, for how AI is interacting and reforming photography. But for the first part, this one, I'm going to talk about why I think for people who work on the documentary side of photography in particular, and so I'm separating that from all the other forms of photography, but why people who work in that world have absolutely nothing to fear from AI, but also can choose to disregard it as well in their own work. And the reason for that is that photography is um, as we've always understood it, is the appliance of a kind of science uh, to real world situations, and the science being the opening and closing of a shutter, the light passing through a lens onto a light sensitive um, media, and capturing an image. And you could also apply it to non-lens image making, such as cyanotypes or any of the other ones. Those things. One of the things, the only thing that all that kind of image making has in common is that it took place at a certain time in a certain space, and a certain mechanical system was employed in making that image. Now, that doesn't guarantee that the image is truthful in what it purports to show, because as we can, say, and I'll mention this in a minute, photography is very susceptible to lying or to false appropriation, let's say. But let's just say that you're making a documentary about the street that you live in. You're photographing the street that you live in. Now, whether you shoot on film or you shoot on digi or whatever, it doesn't really matter. When you take a portrait of somebody or you shoot your whatever urban scape or landscape or whatever, you are recording what happened at a certain time in a certain place, whether you like it or not. It's not up to you to decide on what the epistemology is of the photographic act. It is baked into the process. So the process defines everything. And for that reason, your pictures, whether it's relevant to them or not, will always be a record of a certain time and a certain place, and the light that was in that place at that time. So for that reason, AI is an entire it's an addition, it's an annex to what the documentary photographer does. If we want to touch on the truth of of the document. Yes, I mean, I mean, I should engage with that because it's part of the story. You know, I mean, if you falsely appropriate um, an image or footage or whatever to something that it wasn't, then that is the problem. I mean, I got sent like a reel or something on Instagram purporting to show a very calm market street full of uh, stalls, but burgeoning with produce that said it was in Gaza. And this piece of footage was designed in that caption, I suppose, in the caption that was beneath it, which I think said something like all quiet in Gaza. Um, and lots of food or something. You know, I mean, I can't remember exactly what it was, but the idea was to say that the Gazans aren't having it hard. In fact, that's all Hamas lies, and and it was clearly false. I mean, it was you didn't need to be have a doctorate in reading media to understand that that was a false message, and that that market did exist. It may have been a Gazan market at some other time. We didn't know the time it was taken. We didn't know the place it was taken. And without those those pieces of information that triangulate and prove the evidence that was included in that bit of footage, we have to say it's a lie. And we have to say it's a lie where we don't know where it is. But and no doubt AI will be brought is being brought to bear on in similar nefarious ways. So there's no question about that. But let's remove that from the conversation about the document, because the document it relies on the truth and and the reputation and all sorts of sort of, if you like, third space things when we read it. But what we don't need to rely on is that that picture, like the picture that was taken in Gaza, that footage that was taken in Gaza, did actually happen somewhere. It just it just depends on how we caption it. And so I want to to take my position on this is that as a photographer myself, it the AI will just enhance the human in the mix in the creative process. So think about that. AI is not human. Some people call it alien intelligence instead of artificial intelligence. One thing that AI is not is it isn't human. It may be the agglomeration of many human artifacts, let's say, that it puts together, but it's not a human intelligence. What the photographer is if again, whether we like it or not, has a human intelligence and a human susceptibility to the world around them, human emotions, and the reason that you might take a picture in a certain place of a certain person, whatever, is all to do with your innate humanity. It's got absolutely nothing to do with the with another subset of ifs, and clauses that are written into your program. I mean, okay, determinism, may say that you have that's a completely different story. But in truth, the human and what we recognize as being human is innate in every picture that we take, whether it's a family snap or a very, very long-term documentary project. It it doesn't really there is a binary here, and that binary is fixed. There's human and there's non-human. So for that reason, or for the reasons that I've said, I have absolutely no interest in AI as a photographer myself. In theory and as a novelty, yes, but not really. I mean, if I was a product photographer, yes, I'd be worried. If I was any kind of photographer where the truth, whether the truth of of a fact that happened is not important to the output or the product of that work, that photography, I say photography, but you know, then yeah, I think that there is a problem that's going to take place, that's occurring and happening rapidly for people. And you know, I'm reading about it, you know, about what's happening in the advertising industry at the moment. But not for people who take pictures of the world around them for that reason alone. Okay, I will come back to this because my mind will develop on this, and I'm not fixed on this, but I would like to hear your comments too. So, and I will come back to Richard's book as well, and do something properly on that. Okay, thanks very much. Bye.